Hi, everybody, and welcome to our webinar on Take Advantage of the Portfolio Management Capabilities of Project Online. It is I, your friend, Dale Howard. Before we talk about me, a little bit about our company. We are Progility. We've been around for 15 years, which is a long time in the world of Microsoft PPM partners. People usually come to us when they have concerns about what projects are being worked on, what variance there is, what resources are available, and so forth. We have offices around the country to serve your needs. We offer you services and solutions in three areas. One is deployment and consulting services. Primarily, we do Microsoft PPM deployments of Project Online and Project Server. We also have some custom software solutions that we have created, such as the Hammerhead PPM Data Warehouse to house all of your project data in an offline site, and also our Hammerhead PPM BI Accelerator to accelerate the process of creating Power BI reports. We do also offer support, such as our Expert Care Post-Go Live support. So if we can be of service to your company, please reach out to us. And if you're already one of our clients, we do thank you very much for your business. I did want to let you know that recordings of our webinar will be available. This will be recorded, and you'll find all of our recordings at vimeo.com/showcase 5288659, or you can just go to vimeo.com and search for Progility. It is I, your old friend, Dale Howard. I am the Director of Education for Progility. Currently, hang on just a second here, let me check something. Maybe I should screencast. I apologize, everybody, for that. It is I, your presenter, Dale Howard, the Director of Education for Progility, currently one of only 26 Microsoft Project MVPs, or most valuable professionals in the entire world, and one of only 4 here in the United States. Currently the co-author of 22 books on Microsoft Project, Project Online, and Project Server. I've used every version of Microsoft Project going back to version 4.0 for Windows 95, and every version of the Microsoft PPM tool since Project Central was introduced in the year 2000. Now, about this webinar, and I want to make sure this is absolutely clear to all of you participants, this webinar will not teach you how to do project portfolio management in your organization. That is not our purpose. Instead, this webinar will teach you how to use Project Online to support your organization's existing project portfolio management processes. Now, it may also introduce you to some functionality in Project Online that will allow you to enhance your PPM processes. But I want you to know this is not an introduction to project portfolio management. Instead, it's how to use Project Online to support your existing project portfolio management processes. Also, from this point forward in our webinar, I will abbreviate Project Portfolio Management as PPM in all of the slides in the presentation. Now, the other thing I'd like you all to know is that we will be stopping multiple times for questions and answers. What I will ask you to do, however, is during most of the webinar, the IM or chat pane is disabled. And we have to do that because it actually wrecks the recording of the video, and it takes up almost a third of the screen with the chat pane. So what I'll ask you to do is, if you have questions, jot them down in a text document or a Microsoft Word document. And then when we're ready for the Q&A, I'll ask my helper, Todd Meyer, who's one of our senior consultants, and he's my helper today. Todd will turn on the IM panel or chat panel, and you can just copy and paste your questions into the IM. So everybody be jotting down your questions as you have them. All righty, so let's get started. What is project portfolio management? Well, here's some definitions for you. Project portfolio management, or PPM, focuses on doing the right projects at the right time by selecting and managing projects as a portfolio of investments. I love that. Here's some more. Effective project organizations focus their limited resources on the best projects, declining to do projects that are good but not good enough. I love that too. And the third one, PPM is a funnel that connects strategic planning to the execution of projects, making strategic objectives executable. Those three quotes are from a paper presented at the 2008 PMI Global Congress in Denver, Colorado by a gentleman, Jay Oltmann. And by the way, I actually was a presenter at that same PMI Global Congress back in 2008, though I didn't do what this gentleman did. Now, I love those quotes. So there is no right way or wrong way to do project portfolio management, but here is a process example I wanted to share with you. To quantify strategic objectives, then we capture new incoming projects, then we select the best projects, we approve the selected new projects, and then we begin monitoring project performance. This PPM process example is the example I will be using during today's webinar. All right, so the first step is to quantify strategic objectives. Now, in the business world, the term is strategic objectives or something akin to that. But that terminology maps to a Project Online term known as business drivers. Strategic objectives are business drivers. So it's the application administrator's job to create business drivers based on the organization's strategic objectives or business objectives. Now, those objectives could be for a single department, they might be for a business unit, or they could even be for the entire organization. And you can have different sets of business drivers in Project Online. Now, we recommend in the neighborhood of 4 to 6 business drivers to keep it simple, but you certainly can create more if your organization needs that. The application administrator should also create driver prioritizations that will give a weighting to each of the business drivers against each of the others to show which ones are the most important to the organization and how much weight they carry. We can actually create different sets of driver prioritizations that give more weight to certain drivers to meet specific business needs and less weight to other drivers. So let's go ahead and take a look at how we set up these business drivers or or shall we call it our driver library. So here's what I wanted you to know. This Project Online instance has a driver library currently containing 4 business drivers in Project Online, and these are 4 of the most common across a variety of for-profit businesses. Expand our customer base, increase customer satisfaction, penetrate into new markets, reduce company expenses. Now, if we take a look at expand our customer base, what we're talking about is growing the number of customers for our company. And here's what I want you all to see. Down at the bottom of the page, project impact statements. one of the default features of Project Online that you must use with business drivers is what each of these values means. None, no expansion of our customer base. Low, expand the customer base 1 to 5%. Moderate, 5 to 10%. Strong, 10 to 20%. Extreme, greater than 20% increase. So that is very important, and that's information that you would need to glean from your organization's business executives, from your PMO, from your IT department executives, but you got to get that information from somebody to create the business drivers. Now, once we've got business drivers created, then what we also need to do is establish driver prioritizations. Now, I wanted to show you two examples here of driver prioritizations. One is called business development, where our goal is expanding our business by doing projects that support that, and the other is saving money. So let's look at business development, and I'll show you how these prioritizations work. Now, this is what we call a manual prioritization, where I just simply typed in the percentage values to keep it real simple. So if we want to expand our business, then our weighting values are going to be expand our customer base 35%, penetrate into new markets 30%. So right there you can see 65% of the weighting of our business drivers is on things that will expand and grow our business. Then 25% on increasing customer satisfaction, and only 10% on reducing company expenses. Alrighty, so let me close this page, and Todd, I'm going to ask you if you would please turn on your microphone, and Todd, would you also enable the IM chat pane? And ladies and gentlemen, if you would please copy and paste your questions into the IM chat panel, and then Todd will be reading your questions to me. So Todd, currently, do we have any questions?
Currently, we do not have any questions.
All right, let's give it just a few more seconds here. It's entirely, you did turn on the chat panel, right?
The chat panel is on, but I do not have anything showing in the conversation.
Yep. Okay, very good. So Todd, if you would turn that off then. And folks, let's go back.
Hang on, we got one.
Oh, we got one. Good. Let's hear.
All right. So Paul Yohan has asked, what is the third part of the process?
Oh, there's more coming. Yeah, there's a whole bunch more coming. So Paul, just hold your horses here. But the first part is you've got to get your drivers and driver prioritizations set up. Okay, right. So very good. Todd, were there any others?
Yes. One additional question before we move on?
Yes, sure.
All right. Anthu asks, can we add more drivers per our organization's needs?
Answer, yes, absolutely. And you can tie drivers to departments if they are appropriate, and you can even disable old drivers that are no longer needed. So that was a good question. Yep. Good, Todd. All right, let's move on then. So Todd, if you would close the or disable the chat pane, please. Let me get back to my PowerPoint and we shall resume. Okay, so the second thing you may need to do in your project portfolio management process is to capture new incoming projects. Now, Project Online has a built-in way of doing this, but here's what needs to happen. The application administrator needs to create one or more enterprise project types, or EPTs, that will capture information about incoming projects. For example, you might create EPTs for software development projects, another one for new product development projects, another new EPT or EPT for new marketing campaign projects, and so forth. Beyond that, for each EPT, the application administrator should also create one or more project detail pages. I give those the nickname fill-in forms. That really, we abbreviate it PDP, but it really means a fill-in form that the proposer of a project will use to capture the high-level information about each new incoming project. Now, if your organization has a defined process for approving or rejecting new incoming projects, your application administrator can also create a specific workflow associated with each enterprise project type. All right, so let me demo that for you. So if I go to the Project Center page in PWA, and then I click the Projects ribbon, I click the New Pick List button. Ladies and gentlemen, look at here. These are the IT enterprise project types created by our application administrator. So the proposer of a new project would need to come here and pick the EPT for the type of project being created. So I want to propose a new software development project. Now there is a specific project detail page or fill-in form that is used for new software development projects. So let me go ahead and create a new project and you can see how it works. All right, so the name of this project is HR Benefits Portal and Mobile App. I'm going to leave the description blank. I think you know what I'm talking about. The proposed start date is going to be 7/6 of 2020. The proposed finish date is going to be 9/25 of 2020. So it's going to be about a 3-month project. Our ballpark estimate for the cost is $225,000. The department, this is an HR project. Although it's a software development project, it's being worked for the HR department. The region is the corporate region. The schedule risk is low. And by the way, everything you see here below project departments and even above this proposed start, proposed finish, proposed budget, these are all custom fields that were created in our Project Online instance to support project portfolio management. The program for this project, this is actually part of the Sigma program for software development projects, and the portfolio is in the IT portfolio. Now, once all that information is filled in by the proposer, we hit the Finish button. And then here's what Project Online does. In the background, it creates a new project that the project manager will eventually use in Microsoft Project. It will also publish the project for the very first time, and it will create a project site in SharePoint so that the project manager and all interested parties can collaborate about risks, issues, documents, deliverables, and so forth associated with the project. Now, the project is created. Then what the proposer needs to do is to click the Strategic Impact link where we see the Strategic Impact page. Now, this is where the proposer of the project has to rate this project against our business drivers. You remember I showed you what none, low, moderate, and so forth, what those values mean for expanding our customer base. Well, okay, For expanding the customer base, there won't be any. This is an HR app for employees. Increase customer satisfaction? None. Penetrate into new markets? None. Reduce company expenses? Moderate. So I go ahead and fill in that information. Now, if your organization has a SharePoint workflow created to go along with the approval process of a new proposed project, then you can click the Submit button in the Workflow section of the ribbon, and that will submit the project to the SharePoint workflow. It'll confirm, are you sure you want to do this? The answer is, yep, we do. I'll click OK. Now, what's going to happen here in a moment, and I'm going to show you this later, but I'm going to be receiving an email message from Project Online because of the SharePoint workflow associated with this particular type of project. And I'm receiving the email because I'm actually an executive in the organization, and I do have the power to give preliminary and even final approval to new incoming projects. Now, once the project has been created, all I need to do at this point is to click Close, and I'll check it in. So, Todd, we're ready for round number 2 of questions. So, Todd, if you would open the IM chat pane, please. And let's see if we have any questions about how to intake new proposed projects. Questions, anybody?
Okay, let's give everyone just a moment.
Yep.
All right, here we have one from Gavin.
Okay.
Does SharePoint workflow get created by default? And if not, who creates the SharePoint workflow?
Excellent. The answer is no, it doesn't get created by default. Todd, you're an expert on this. Would you want to chime in and talk a little bit about that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So SharePoint workflow just for Project Online does not come out of the box. It does need to be created. And it is creating using a tool called SharePoint Designer. And that is where you're typically someone who has administrative rights, someone who is a little bit developer minded, let's say, can piece that together. It's not anything that requires a heavy bit of coding typically, but it does require someone who's familiar, with SharePoint workflow. Okay.
All right, good. Todd, that was an excellent question. Good. Thanks for sharing the answer to that excellent question. Do we have any other questions at this point?
So far, we've got a couple more.
Good.
Heather is asking, can you have more than one approver?
Oh, Todd, do you want to address that? The answer is yes. Todd, do you want to pick that up too?
I will. That is designed during the workflow development, and the answer to that is yes. You have the option to have a single approver or multiple approvers, and you also have the option to require that everybody who is listed as an approver provide a yes or a no, or you can even do it by consensus. So you can say if a majority of the people who are listed as approvers approve that workflow, then it will continue.
Yeah, beautiful. Thing I like about SharePoint is the flexibility at each stage of the workflow of who does the approval and what the rules are for gaining the approval. So, Todd, excellent answer to an excellent question. You said there was another question.
Yes, we have actually 2 more questions. I'm going to go a little bit out of order here because Gavin provided a follow-up question.
Sure. Okay.
He asked, what is the impact of changing weightings of the drivers on projects and portfolios?
Oh, excellent question. We will see that in the next demo where I'll show you how to use the portfolio analysis tool to select the best projects. So hold on to that one, Gavin. That's coming right around the corner. All right.
Uh, okay, so we also have one from Rhonda, and I think I'm probably going to answer this one for you, Dale.
Okay.
Rhonda says we have projects that we can't move through their workflow. That is, the submit workflow button in PWA is grayed out. From what we can tell, all steps have been completed. How do we move a project through workflow? A little difficult to categorically answer that question, Rhonda. You would really need to check with the person who developed that workflow. But typically, it means that that workflow has been completed. But you can always restart the workflow from an administrative standpoint by going to PWA settings, manage workflow, or actually, I think it's change enterprise project type, something like that. I'm drawing a blank because I have something to click through. But you can actually position the project administratively at any stage in that workflow.
Todd, I'm wondering, could it be that the project is not checked out?
Well, it does have, no, you can submit, you do have to be in edit. Yeah, you have to be in edit mode in order to submit the workflow.
Yep. So, Rhonda, here's the same project that I just proposed, but look, it's not checked out right now. See how the submit button is grayed out. So that might be a possible cause. All
All
right.
right, let's do one last one. And this is also from Gavin, and says, what should happen to the existing projects and portfolios if the company strategies change?
Okay, that's an excellent question. And Gavin, that probably means that a new portfolio analysis needs to be created to determine which in-flight and planned projects to keep and which ones now to cancel, ditch, delay, whatever. So yeah, if things change in midstream, you probably got to create a new portfolio analysis for that purpose. All right, Todd, I need to move on because the next topic is a pretty lengthy one. So feel free to hold any additional questions. But Todd, if you'd close the IM chat pane and let me get back to my PowerPoint and let us continue. Now, the next step in this PPM sample process that I am using for this webinar is to use the portfolio analysis tool that is built right into Project Online to select the best projects for your organization's portfolio. Now, by the term best projects, I mean those are the projects that most closely align to your organization's business drivers and that deliver the most business value. Your organization can use the portfolio analysis tool to select the best projects one of two ways. You can either select them on a cost basis only and just totally disregard resources, or you can do it on a cost basis and resource demand basis as well. I'll be showing you the second one so you get the full picture here. But here is my recommendation to you about this portfolio analysis tool. Several years ago, I did a portfolio manager training class for a company in San Diego. And by the way, I never complain when I get to go to San Diego. I love that town. All right, so I'm going through the whole portfolio analysis tool, showing everybody how it works. And yeah, this is cool, everybody, it was great. And then one guy snidely said, "Are you honestly expecting that our executives are going to sit here and click those buttons?" And he was as incredulous as I've ever had a student. And I just smiled and said back, "No, I think you or somebody who knows how to use the tool should meet with the executives, and you walk them through the process, and you click the buttons, and you type where you need to type. Somebody who knows what they're doing with the portfolio analysis tool needs to drive the meeting. So folks, we don't let our executives try to do this unless they're really sharp. We should have a portfolio manager or even the application administrator who knows how to use the portfolio analysis tool. So let's take a look at the portfolio analysis tool. So I'm going to click the portfolio analyses link over on the left side in the quick launch menu. And this takes us to the opening page. Now, the first thing that I wanted to show you is I know that in the real world, you may have programs of projects where the whole program needs to be worked as a single entity. So what I've done is I've set up a project dependency. And if I click the new button here, I wanted you to see that there's actually 4 types of dependencies that you can create for the purposes of portfolio analysis. I've created a new one called mutual inclusion. Now, if I select this dependency to open it up for editing, here's what we have. All of the network upgrade projects must be executed as a program, and folks, there they are. So that batch, if any one of them gets selected to be part of the portfolio for approval, all of them will be selected. All right, now we'll see how that works in just a little bit here. The second thing I wanted you to know is to save time today, I've already created a portfolio analysis. So let's go ahead and take a look at it, and I'll walk through rather gingerly how I created this portfolio analysis. All right, so it's called FY21 IT Projects. We're going to determine the ideal mix of ID projects for the FY21 fiscal year that starts in July of 2020. So this coming July is FY 2021. Now, here we go. This is why I showed you the driver prioritizations. If I click, look, there are the 2 choices. So which drivers are going to get the most weight in selecting the right mix of projects? So we do want business development. I also had to go through and pick the projects that I want to consider. So here are all of the proposed incoming projects. There's 24 of them. 24 of them. Also, you remember when I created the new project, I put in my proposed budget? That field is used for capturing the initial cost of each project. It's just an estimate. That's why it's proposed budget. Now, I do want to analyze our resource requirements against our resource capacity. So this is not selected by default. I selected it. I've also told the portfolio analysis tool that I want to take the long view. I want to look from July 2020 all the way out to the end of December 2022. Now, why am I going clear into 2022? I recommend that when you create a portfolio analysis, you always extend the horizon end date 1 year beyond what you want to study in case you want to delay projects from this year to the next year. So that's why I did that. So we'll be looking at months. Now, for the purpose of studying our resource demand, we're going to use a custom field, excuse me, that I created called corporate role. And if you were in our webinar last month, about how to do resource management in Project Online, you saw that we created a custom field called corporate role that is used for skill matching. And that is how Project Online knows that a resource named Mickey Cobb actually has the skill called software developer. It's used for matching generic resources with humans and with matching humans with other humans. Let me take a drink here. I'm getting a little choked up from allergies. And down at the bottom, I've also got a couple special settings. Excuse me, everybody. These are two custom lookup tables that I created in Project Online to give the reason why executives might force a project into the acceptable portfolio or force one out into the not acceptable portfolio. So that's all the setup I did. Now let's go ahead and dig into this. So as we work through the portfolio analysis process, I'm going to click the Focus on Content button. I don't know if you folks have discovered that button in the upper right corner of the project web app screen, but that'll let us see all of this information. Folks, this page is where the executives sitting in this portfolio analysis meeting can look at the rating of every project as presented by the proposer. And this is where the executives could say, now wait a minute, AI for cargo container system, extreme for penetrating into new markets. If they disagree, look, an executive could say, nope, driver, would you go ahead and rate that a little lower? I'm going to leave it at extreme because that's how I want it to be, by the way. So we'll leave that at extreme. Okay. So this is where our executives can overrule the proposer if they want to. Generally, we're going to go by the proposer's opinion. Next, let's review the ranking of the projects. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what you are seeing here is a list of numbers that add up to be 100%. And the projects that are listed first are the projects that deliver the highest business value to the organization. Now, the business value is determined by the ranking of the 4 business drivers, the values selected by the proposer, and by the driver prioritization that is in place that gives the most weight to developing new business. So if we look down the list here, the top ones are all projects that will deliver high business value. Now, if we go down to the bottom, oh no, look, the bottom 3 are network upgrade projects. You know, those are internal ones, see? So they're not delivering as much business value. We cannot change these numbers. This just tells us this is what we should expect. Okay, so now to analyze cost, here is what the portfolio analysis tool will do. It will show you the grand total proposed budget for all of the projects that were in the list of 24, and see how they're all in the selected projects group. So in order for our organization to do all these projects, it's going to cost almost $23 million. We do have a problem, however. Our executives have said the budget for IT for next year is $15 million for new projects. So what I'm going to do is tell the portfolio analysis tool that we can only spend $15 million. So I'll recalculate and let the portfolio analysis tool tell us, okay, which projects will deliver the most business value. Now, by the way, look, we're not getting 100% of the business value represented in all the projects. We're down to 92.55. Now, if I scroll down to the bottom, ladies and gentlemen, please notice that there were 3 projects that got the boot, so to speak. They're not optimal projects. They're not delivering the most business value. So for $15 million, we should not work these 3 projects. But folks, there's a problem. The Epicor to Microsoft Dynamics conversion project is a strategic objective. It is a project that must be done by executive mandate. So I'm going to go to the force in out column and click the pick list, and then I'll expand forced in. Look, here's 3 possible reasons why we might want to force this in. It's some type of a compliance project that just absolutely has to be done, maybe federal compliance, something like that. Or it's a corporate priority. Yep, that's what it is. Or it's executive preference. And instead of putting pet project, I said executive preference. But that's what it means. It's some executive's favorite project, and that's one they want to do no matter what. All right, so this is a corporate priority. Corporate priority. So I'll go ahead and select that, and I'll recalculate. Now, let's see what we get. We're spending $14.93 million, so we're really close, but look at this, folks. These 4 projects just got the boot. Now, the executives have agreed, yeah, they think this is the mix of projects that we want to do for the next business year. So this is what we call a scenario, a portfolio scenario. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to call this $15 million budget plus the Epicor conversion project. All right, so we'll save that so we can later return to it if we need to. So our executives have decided this list of projects that are in the selected projects group, this is what they want to focus on. But now we need to know, do we have enough people to staff these projects? So this is what the Analyze Resources page is for. Now, when we go to the Analyze Resources page, this is where we start getting some bad news. What Project Online tells us in this portfolio analysis tool is we do not have enough resources to work all of the projects we've selected. In fact, these 4 here, we definitely don't have the resources to work them. But here's the problem. The Epicor project, we absolutely have to work this project. So I'm going to move it back in, going to force it back in. It's a corporate priority. Recalculate it. And let's see what the system tells us now. Okay, when we scroll down here, we've got 2 projects that got moved in, and now we've got 3 projects that got moved out. Well, shoot, what are we going to do about this? Let's see where we have shortages. So if I go to requirement details, one thing I want you to know is always select the checkbox in the upper right corner called Highlight Deficit. And then I'm going to roll up the selected group, and I want to show you where we have deficits. So let's scroll down here. Scroll over to the right. Okay, I can see we're short this ZDX Power Pipeline software We're short, oh look, 0.15 and 0.13 resources we don't have. That's just a part-time QA specialist. We're also short 4 full-time software developers in May and 3.5 in June. If I go down to the AI for cargo container systems, look, we have more severe deficits. We're short 2 QA specialists, 6 software developers. You see, this is painting a picture for us where we're short. Now look, here's QA specialist again, but it's a very, very small deficit. And here again, a very small deficit. And here, a very small deficit. All right, so now we know there's a couple projects where we're short software developers big time, and majority of them we're short on QA specialists. So our organization, our executive leadership team knows that there is a hiring freeze currently in place due to the coronavirus outbreak. So we cannot hire additional full-time employees to cover these deficits so we can do these projects. But our executives do know that we can hire contractors part-time. Or I shouldn't say part-time, temporarily we can hire contractors. So on the options ribbon, there's a type pick list button. Internal means hiring FTEs. External means hiring contractors. So I'm going to choose external. So let's hire contractors. And just on a lark, our executive said, well, all right, what if we hire the equivalent of 6 full-time employees, but hire them as contractors? So I'll go ahead and recalculate this. And let's see what happens. Project Online actually looks at all of the deficits to determine. And look at this, ladies and gentlemen. 1, 2, 3, 4 projects can now be moved in by hiring contractors. But our problem is we're still way short on this AI for cargo container systems. So here's what I'm going to do. Let's save this scenario, and we're going to call this hire 6 contractors. And let's go look at the shortage again. So if I roll up the selected group, yep, here's our problem. We've got to come up with 6 full-time software developers February through June. And folks, it just is not going to happen this year. So what our business executives have said is they want to delay that project until January of 2022. So what I'll do here, I'll first delay it, and then I'll show you the contractors that we're going to hire and when we'll hire them. So there's a column here that is available to you if you've set your horizon far enough out into the future. It's the new start field. So I'm going to just say we will start this January of 2022, and we will recalculate. And I'm going to save this as another scenario. It's a good idea to save scenarios. So we'll call this hire 6 contractors plus delay a project. Just a simple name here. Okay, so now you all probably want to know, well, what contractors do we need to hire and when? There's a built-in report called the Hired Resources Report. And I'll show you. Oddly enough, we never had a shortage of network administrators, but apparently we do need to hire network administrators for short periods of time. So look at this. February, March 2021, February to February, June to July, June to June. Look at all the QA specialists, when we'll hire them, and also to cover our deficits for the software developers on that ZDX Power Pipeline. Look, there's the time span that we'll be hiring the contractors. So this basically tells our resource managers when these particular types of resources will be needed, and we'll leave it up to them to go work with our contracting companies that provide us resources to be able to staff the projects. Now, once we've come up with the ideal mix of projects, then the final step is to commit to the selected list. So what we'll do is this. We'll click the commit button and click OK. And what that will do is fill in a special batch of fields associated with this portfolio analysis that could, if need be, extracted into a report. Now, folks, that's a very fast overview of how to use the portfolio analysis tool. I do want you to notice that based on the projects we've selected, we will only get about 77% of the business value represented by the original 24 projects. All right, so Todd, we are ready for another round of questions. So Todd, if you would please turn on your microphone, open the chat panel, and let's hear what the folks want to ask.
Okay, we've got one from Gavin.
All right.
Two parts to it.
Okay.
Part one, can you perform resource leveling within portfolio analysis to avoid resource shortages in specific months?
The answer is no, that cannot be done in this tool. So where there are shortages, the only options then would be to hire contractors or hire FTEs. A better option, frankly, would be to reach out to the one of the portfolio managers should probably open the projects where we have cross-project over allocations and do those leveling operations, and then we later come back as an executive leadership team and look at the new picture. But no, there's no leveling in the portfolio analysis tool. Wish there was, that would help, but it is not an available option. Good question.
The second part to that is, do all project resourcing need role mapping to present scenarios, resource utilization within the scenario?
Yes, absolutely. That is the only way that Project Online can match generic resources with human resources to know the demand and the utilization of the resources. So yeah, you've got to have some custom field used for skill mapping of resources to map generics with humans and humans with other humans that have the same skills. Yep, that's a requirement. But if you don't want to do the resource analysis, you don't have to. But if you want to do resource analysis, yes, you have to have a custom field for that purpose, and that value needs to be specified for every generic and every human resource in the enterprise resource pool. All right, Todd, do we have any more questions?
We do. Okay, this one is also from Anthu.
Okay.
What is the cost impact after you add more external resources? Don't see the cost input.
Yeah, very good. And let me see if it shows the additional work. So let's see here. Yeah, it doesn't give me it doesn't give me the option to see, and this is frankly a little bit of a deficiency if you think about it of this tool. It doesn't tell me how much extra it's going to cost. What it does tell me is it's going to crank up 1,500 hours of work. And in the report, if I look at the hired resources report, let's look here. It shows the cost information for all of those resources. So I suppose you could do a little copy and paste into Excel and get, a total there. But no, it doesn't show that extra cost, unfortunately, to how much it's costing to hire all of these extra resources. Now, let me look here just to make sure that it isn't a field. Nope, it is not. Nope. So it doesn't tell us the extra cost. I'm sorry. That's one of the limitations of the tool.
Yeah, and I'll add that there's probably some reporting that you can do. However, those additional costs really won't take into effect anything other than the labor cost. As we all know, inside business, there are costs associated with hiring additional resources, such as marketing expenses and whatnot, that really just would be tough to represent in this type of tool.
Yeah, thank you for adding, Todd. Good point. Yep. So do we have any other questions?
We do. This is from Latha.
Okay.
In the example provided, adding contractors does not add the overall cost of the project. Oh, I think it's kind of the same question.
Yep.
Same type.
Yep. So
and Latha, if you need some clarification, submit something else, and we'll regroup for your question.
Yep. Good.
Okay, one more currently.
Yep.
From Gavin, can you present portfolio analysis information within Power BI or other reporting tools? I'll field that. The answer to that is you can. It's pretty much a regurgitation of exactly what you see here. However, like I said earlier, you can go out and grab the hourly rate for resources and calculate your cost, so you can extend it. So yes, it is available. It is in the OData. If you're familiar with that term, that is what is used to grab the data associated with Project Online and present it in Power BI. And there are tables there that are available.
Yep.
It's a little bit tricky, but if you're familiar with the model, you can figure it out.
Yeah, good. Todd, we do need to move on in the interest of time. Folks, I do want you to know we're probably going to run over a little bit past the top of the hour. If you have to leave, I certainly understand, but if you're able to stay for the full webinar, please hang on, if you would, very kindly. All right, so the next topic is approving the new selected projects, and the selected projects are the ones that I just showed you in the portfolio analysis tool. So Project Online allows business executives or even portfolio managers to formally approve or reject new incoming projects using a SharePoint workflow process. Now, the workflow process, approval process allows your organization to set up one or more stage gates for approval. The workflow approval for each stage gate includes who makes the approval along with the rules or requirements for approval. Is it one yes vote? Is it a majority yes vote? Is it one no vote nullifies it? You have to have a majority yes, and so forth. Now, the beauty of using a formal workflow approval process is it creates an electronic paper trail of who approved the project and when they approved it. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Now, let me go to my Outlook, and here's what I wanted you to see. When I submitted that new proposed project, I got an email from Project Online. And we're pretending now that I'm a business executive, and I've just received this email message. Now, the way that our workflow is set up is it only takes one executive to give initial approval. And initial approval means it could now be included in a portfolio analysis for further review and further study. So what I would like to do is I would like to approve this. But wait, I don't have enough information to know whether to approve it. So here's what an executive could do. The executive could go to open another browser tab and could go to the Project Center page, and the executive could scroll down and find the new project and click on it. Remember, I did that before. And then the executive can look at the IT intake form information. See, there's everything I typed in. Oh, look, that's a pretty cheap project. Now, as an executive who counts dollars and cents, that looks pretty good. The schedule risk is low. Okay, you know what? I got an information here. I think I'm going to approve this project. So I approve it. And then what that will do is it will move the project along in the workflow. So I'll just show you what it looks like over here. Bingo, there we are. So now where we've moved in our workflow process, it will be up to, we'll have to get a project manager appointed to begin managing and working out this project. And what the project manager will need to do is create resource engagements using generic resources to staff the project, or just assign human resources to the project so we know what the demands are for the project. Okay, so Todd, that was the next topic. Let's open the chat pane. That was a really short one. Let's see, does anybody have questions about approving new incoming projects using a SharePoint workflow process? Todd, be sure and turn your microphone on.
No, I don't have any additional questions at this time.
Okay, then if that's the case, we will move on for our final topic. Monitoring performance. Portfolio managers can monitor the performance of projects, programs, and portfolios in several ways. One way, the built-in method, is the application administrator can create custom views in the Project Center page that include stoplight indicators that show the severity of variance. In addition, your organization's report authors can create custom reports in Power BI. Now, based on the results of monitoring for performance, this could actually lead to projects being canceled, in-flight projects being put on hold, delaying the start of unstarted projects, and it could even mean that a new portfolio analysis needs to be created to determine the best course of action under current circumstances. So if I go back to Project Web App, I wanted to show you in the Project Center page. This is one of 5 default views included in the Project Center page. You have no idea what is going on with any of these projects. Are they on schedule, on budget, late, over budget? Who knows? So our application administrator has actually created a number of custom views that include custom columns with stoplight indicators. So let's go ahead and pick one, and let's look at projects by department. And I'll also use my focus on content button again here. So folks, the projects that you're seeing listed here, the key for understanding the stoplights is purple question mark means the project hasn't started yet and doesn't have a baseline yet. If you see green, that means it's on track. So we can see our cost, health, it's 2% over budget. That qualifies for a green stoplight. On duration health, it's 18% long or going over on duration. So that qualifies as yellow. And on work health, we're about 5% over budget. So that gives us a green. Now, if we go down and look at some of these stoplights, here's a green smiley face. This is one you'll never see in the real world. That's a project that's finishing early. Now, I'm just making that up. You may see green smiley faces, meaning the project is going better than anybody thought. So if I were a portfolio manager in the IT department, here is what I would be studying. I'd be studying all of the IT projects, looking for reds and yellows. Now, by the way, this first column, project health, that is actually the opinion of the project manager as to how the project is going. He or she set this value manually. The next three are calculated by Project Online, so there's no lying about how the project is going. Like if I had red, 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 plus the project manager said that it's green, everything is great, I think that project manager either forgot to set the value or they're trying to lie to me. So that's the first way. You can use custom project center views. Your administrator needs to create those for you. Your other option is Power BI reporting. Now let me show you a couple options for Power BI reporting. One option is Microsoft's free Power BI report pack for Project Online. Now keep in mind that this doesn't use any of your custom fields. Everything in this report pack just uses all the built-in fields. Microsoft, to their credit, does give this away for free. So here is the portfolio dashboard of all the projects in the current two portfolios of IT and non-IT projects. Now, what I love about Power BI is how you can click on a part of a visualization and then filter the data shown in the grid. So I only want to see software development projects, so I'll click the software development slice of the donut chart. Donuts. Sorry, I just quoted Homer Simpson. So folks, when you take a look at this, these are built-in indicators with their own built-in criteria as a part of the report pack. So the reds here may not match up with the reds that you saw on the Project Center page. A better way, in my opinion, is to create custom reports that dial in exactly on your needs with Power BI. So ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to present to you the portfolio reports created by our helper today, Todd Meyer, our senior consultant for Progility. And Todd created these reports for me using some of the typical kinds of needs and requirements that our clients have. So, for example, if I wanted to see all of the warnings, I can click on that slice of the pie. Oh, nope, that one isn't. Let me see here. Oh, there it goes. I was impatient. Sorry about that. everybody. I should have been a little more patient. Okay, so if I wanted warning on the health of the project, look, there are 5 projects where we've got a health warning of red. Now, as a portfolio manager, if I look at the remaining work column, only one of these is currently in flight because it has remaining work. The other 4 are finished, so I probably already knew, we had problems going on there. Now, beyond this, it would be great if we could take a look at the risks associated with our portfolio of projects. So in this report that Todd created for me, I've got a portfolio risks tab. And notice what Todd has done is he has included the exposure column so that we can see the exposure value for each risk, and he made it a heat map. Now, by the way, exposure is calculated in Project Online. For each risk, it's probability multiplied by impact. So you can see above 3 to 10, in that range is going to give you a yellow or a red cell background color. So folks, this is another way to do the reporting of for portfolio analysis, for your project portfolio management work. This is the kind of work we could do for you if you're currently looking for a partner. This isn't a commercial, though. That is actually the end of my formal content. So Todd, if you turn your microphone back on and open the IM chat grid again, let's see if anybody has any parting questions. I realize we've gone a little bit over. I hope that doesn't hurt your feelings.
We do. We have one left over from Heather a little bit earlier. Okay. Can a multi-layer approval be created? And that was referencing the workflow, and I'll handle that. And I'll say that it can be created. It's only limited by the skill set of the person doing the SharePoint designer work. Okay.
Good one.
All right. Gavin is asking, what happens to the health indicators if only a subset of tasks are baselined in a plan rather than the entire project?
Yeah, good question. The health indicators for the projects themselves, the way that I have the formula set up, Gavin, is they show a purple question mark if there's no baseline. Bingo. Otherwise, if there is a baseline, then the formulas will kick in and calculate variance and show red, yellow, or green smiley face stoplight indicators. So if there's no baseline, the way I have them set up in my Project Online instance, it shows the purple question mark. All right, that was a good question. Todd, do you have any others?
Gavin has promised no more questions.
Oh, he doesn't have to promise that. These have all been good questions.
All right. Here's another question we have from YB. Can we add a link on the approval workflow form and point to the detail of the project rather than having the approver to search for?
Oh, that's a really good question, Todd. Is that possible?
Yeah, I believe it is. I haven't done that, but I do believe it is. Inside the workflow email that you get, it already has a hyperlink that will take you directly to that approval piece. So if you are looking for a hyperlink that would take you to the project detail page, that is probably something that we could capture and add. I don't see why that could not be done. But like I said, I haven't done that.
That is a brilliant question. You know what? Because you saw how it made me go hunt for the project. What if we had 1,000 projects to comb through? That would be a mess. So yeah, that sounds good. All right. Any other questions?
There do not appear to be any further incoming questions.
Well, okay. Then here's what we shall do, ladies and gentlemen. I do thank you very, very much for coming to our webinar today. I've actually been pumped about this webinar for the last month because I really love the portfolio analysis tool. In spite of a few of its limitations, I really think there's a lot of power there. So thanks everybody for coming to our webinar. Have a great day. Bye-bye, everybody.